Here's here's headline number 1 on PlayStation.com. The webpage is entitled "Important Notice." That's the title of this webpage.
In the name of love.
That's right. Yes. Yes. The important notice on the PlayStation support page here is a confirmation of the reporting from last week that the PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable, and PlayStation Vita stores are in fact closing on the 2nd of July and then the 27th of August for the Vita. So that stuff's official. They've got a full-on kind of knowledge-based thing up here talking about it and what will and won't work. Here we go. Under features you will still be able to access. You will still be able to re-download and play previously purchased game titles, access previously purchased video and media content, redeem Game and PlayStation Plus vouchers. I assume that means games for those platforms.
Yeah, like if you're buying a card in a store or something,
right,
or if you have like something like that.
If you somehow find an ancient code for Tokyo Jungle, you will still be able to cash it in and get Tokyo Jungle, I guess.
Sure.
You will still be able to re-download and play claimed game titles through PlayStation Plus as long as you remain a member of the service. Features you will lose access to. You will no longer be able to purchase PS3, Vita, and PSP digital content, including games and video content. You will no longer be able to make in-game purchases through games on PS3, Vita, and PSP. You will no longer be able to redeem PSN Wallet Fund vouchers on PS3, Vita, and PSP. Your PSN wallet, so this is basically existing. If you have money in your PlayStation Network wallet, those funds will remain in your PSN account, but you will only be able to use your wallet funds to purchase PS4 and PS5 products. So if you've got money to spend in there and you want PS3 or PSP, if you have a PSP Go and you want to get some games on there, the legitimate way, you should spend that money sooner than later because you've only
empty that wallet.
That's right. So yeah, that's the basic gist of things. I think that's all the major details in here. They do have a FAQ. Just kind of clarifying those main points, I think, here.
Yeah, like cross-buy stuff. Like if there's a game that is cross-buy,
that was
PS4 to Vita, you will that is still a way for you to buy a new Vita game.
That was the one other one. Yes. So yeah, if you bought a PS4 game that was cross-play on PS3, you can still download and play it on the PS3 after those dates.
Okay.
But yeah.
So it's good, obviously, that we're still going to be able to download stuff. Great.
Yeah, like I thought that would have gone without saying until I was reminded that Nintendo actually totally did that with the Wii.
Yeah.
And got away with it somehow.
Well, Nintendo is so bad at anything involving the internet anyway that you just look at it and go like, of course they would do this. Like, they don't get a pass so much as they just are terrible at this stuff. So this sucks. Like, I don't know. Like,
it seemed kind of soon, especially like the Vita only came out in like what, 2012, I want to say.
Yeah, it's right? Like not quite a decade old, something like that. Yeah,
it's 9 years ago.
Yeah, it seems kind of soon to be cutting this stuff off, but I don't know.
I guess
maybe there's some.
You probably have to imagine that no one is actually making new purchases.
Sure.
On these platforms, or so few that it's like whatever. And so if they're like, hey, we're going to give you a window that you can go buy what you want to buy, and then we're going to still let you re-download stuff you already purchased, then
it's kind of a lot of games to close off access to.
Yeah, and I think it's actually a really so I assume there is some technical reason for this, right? There's like the PlayStation Network, for as much as you might think it is bad in some ways now, boy, was it extra bad back then. And they have had to kind of just duct tape new features onto it over the years as new consoles came out and all this other stuff. So like those legacy platforms, I'm sure are a pain in the ass for some engineer somewhere. But in a world where you're trying to get more and more people to feel comfortable buying games digitally, even if you're allowing the legacy purchases to still exist, this just looks bad. This looks bad and makes you question everything about buying digital games, period. And they just shouldn't do this. They should be like, oh, well, yes, this is a pain in the ass, and yes, no one's buying it. But I think this damages their credibility with the kind of like, hey, what's going to happen to my digital library of games over the years?
It undercuts my confidence that we're going to have complete and total access to this stuff down the road. It's scary.
I'm trying to find a good list of like every PlayStation basically PS3 exclusives on PlayStation Network. Like that's kind of tough because there were a lot of cross-platform games on there as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Trash Panic is the first one that comes to mind, but that's my go-to example for like, what are you gonna do if you want to play Trash Panic in a couple of years?
Yeah.
You just can't get it anymore.
Frobisher Says for the Vita, one of the creators of that was out there saying like, hey, this game you should get this. It's not coming out anywhere else ever.
God, see, like they're all games we were talking about that I had no interest in playing or owning a week ago. Now you were saying these things out loud, and I'm like, maybe I should go buy Frobisher Says.
Frobisher Says, I believe it is free. Frobisher,
you're right. You're right.
And then the DLC cost money,
yes.
I think. But
you're right. You're right. I do have that one, but like, how about Pain? Anybody remember Pain?
As someone who played a little bit of Pain sometime over the last 18 months,
Pain does not hold up very well.
Pain was bad. Pain was pretty bad originally.
There was a certain charm to it when physics in games were still kind of novel.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Fat Princess?
Fat Prince.
Okay.
I don't think that ever got ported. Yeah.
And Nobby Boy. As well.
They might have. I don't know if that. Did they shut the servers off for that?
Well, they might have
kind of reached and came back or whatever it was.
After Girl completed her round trip through the solar system.
You can still play that locally though, right? Because all it was doing was like pinging to see.
Yeah. You might just not get the like, hey, here's the big group goal thing.
Chat throwing out all kinds of examples here. Echo Chrome.
Oh yeah,
Echo Chrome.
Grip Shift HD. Some of the bigger PSN games, to be fair, like Flower, Flow, some of those that game coming to games, like some of those got ported to PS4. I want to say
5, right?
Yeah,
no,
maybe.
Flower. I feel like Flower came out on something recently.
I don't know if there are any native.
It's on
maybe.
No,
I think that game coming to games came out on PC. You're right, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
What about the MGS4 database? Yeah, that weird database thing they put out.
Think about all the PlayStation Home stuff we lost already. That was
Well, there are people trying to make that thing work again in one way or another. So,
God, man. Now I feel like I have to hook up my PS3 and go through that store and see if there's anything I want to get.
Yeah, because they've already shut down the web version of the store, so you can't just go make all the purchases now and worry about it later. You're kind of forced to go update a PS3 to whatever firmware they're on now and make all those purchases and all that other stuff. And then, what happens to your PSP Go, a digital only device that has no UMD drive on it. I'll tell you what happens to your PSP Go.
You lose it?
You do something weird to the battery. No, I guess you can't even do the weird battery thing to mod a PSP Go. That was only because that has a non-removable battery. But
the P battery, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Make a P battery.
Make a P battery, and then you'll be able to do whatever you want with the PSP. That's the thing, is all this stuff ends up being relegated to a darker realm now. And obviously it seems like they'll keep their CDNs up, so the files will be accessible, and that's good. For now. That's the darker part of this, is there is sort of a foreboding for now aspect of this. And they have not said anything about shutting down the ability to download your purchases or anything like that. They haven't even necessarily leaned in that direction, but this move is enough to where you have to then consider like, oh, are they going to totally screw over people on that stuff as well? It does not feel good. Like, I feel like consumer confidence is an important thing. We're still just early enough on the like rise of digital purchasing that they still have to kind of work to prove that they're in it for real and that they are going to take care of their customers and all this other stuff. And this is like just enough of a weird shutdown to where it makes you feel real icky about it all now. If you didn't already, but in terms of like actual people getting hurt and all this other stuff, I bet the like legit actual purchases that were happening on those 3 storefronts were so low that you know, in real world terms, who cares? But it is very much a vibe and feeling of like, none of this is good. So
for sure,
I think, and not knowing anything about the technical reasons why they would do this and all this other stuff, I think they should have stuck it out and just kept that stuff up and figured out what they needed to do to keep that stuff running, just to not be in this situation.
Unless there really are just like infrastructural factors that are holding them back from doing better things going forward, I guess I can see.
And I think if that's the case, they should say that and be able to kind of show it. And that, I think at least they could try to make their case to consumers then and say like, hey, because we're doing this, like I think that was part of the original Xbox Live shutdown, was like, hey, there's a lot of legacy stuff we're tied to by virtue of old Xbox Live having to be up, so we're gonna take it down. And they were able to at least kind of start. I don't know that they necessarily made that case as forcibly as they could have, but they at least were able to say it. And this is just like, we're shutting it down, which doesn't seem like it's the whole story.
Yeah. This whole situation has dredged up some of the comments that Jim Ryan made about old PlayStation games back in 2017. Do you remember that?
He loves them, right? I love old PlayStation games. They're the best. You should be able to play them forever. I think that's what it was, right?
I have here these quotes from an interview with Time that he did in 2017 about old games. I don't know if this was before or after he took over the whole thing, the whole division, but when we've dabbled with
this was before.
Okay, maybe so. When we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it's one of those features that is much requested but not actually used much. I mean, to be fair, I have heard those sorts of statistics borne out. But the better quote is that, and I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games, and the PS1 and the PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anybody play this?
Oh, no.
Really,
what an ass.
Really just celebrating the storied history of your company's body of work.
But contextually, though, weren't those, and people love to drag that quote back out over and over again because it applies to so much. But contextually, isn't he being asked about this sort of features, these sort of features in contrast to, hey, Microsoft seems to be doing this stuff. So isn't a part of this him shitting on it because they're doing it? Like it's kind of in the same boat as like Rumble is last generation, where you're like, that's a fucking stupid thing to say. But also like they were coming at him from like, the competition cares about this stuff. And he has to be like, well, we fucking don't. And that's a good thing. Because that's like the company man thing to do. I don't know. Like, I think that bit of context, I think like lessens the impact of this ever so slightly, but it's still real fucking dumb.
Yeah.
It's still a way to answer that question of just like, man, you should have probably done a fake version of this interview with someone internally and figured out this stuff before you got in front of people and said what you said. Because geez.
Yeah. I mean, there is no mention of the Xbox directly prior to that particular exchange in this article, but obviously it has been presented in that context in some situations.
Okay, yeah, because I remember it as being like they were getting not heat per se, but it was definitely like Microsoft was really pushing the backwards compatibility stuff really hard.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like downplaying it.
Yeah, and so Sony had to be in this position of downplaying it because they knew that they were not going to be doing that stuff and couldn't or whatever.
I bet Polyphony loved that quote. I bet they were like,
yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're right, I guess, but hey, fuck you also. Like, I crawled under how many cars to, like, record muffler noises.
I've been
and
to
also
the Polyphony office,
of those,
man.
Yeah. How many of those models made it into later games?
Like, fuck that, man. How many people slept in that office to get those games done?
Right.
Like... In fact, like when the day we went to Polyphony, it was like a ghost town when we got there, and then they were literally, the PR was apologetic, like oh, it was a pretty late night around here last night. Like everybody was like fucking exhausted because they'd been up all night working on the games. Anyway,
it's shitty, but also like I feel like everything I've heard about how PSN was architectured and the decisions they made back when they first built it. it sounds like that thing was a nightmare. So it's easy for me to believe that like they look at that thing and like, we have to get away from this. Like the name change stuff took forever.
Yeah.
Because of decisions like bad decisions they made around save data when they originally built the thing. So yeah, so I'm sure that this is probably like the easiest way for them to go from an engineering perspective, but it just sucks. They should not do this. This is dumb.
Or at least figure out better messaging around it.
Oh, well, yeah. That's the half step, right? Is like, hey, tell people why you need to do this and give them some hope for the future of PSN. It's like, hey, because we're doing this, we're gonna make the patching not take an hour and a half. Every time Apex downloads a patch, it feels like I'm watching it copy, even on a PS5, which is supposed to be faster.
I turned on the PS5 this morning. It pulled a 500 megabyte patch for Miles Morales, which took like 10-15 minutes to apply.
Whoa, yeah, last night it was downloading
through
like
the
a
whole copying process.
Yeah, 180 meg Apex patch or something, and then it just sat there in that copying phase for half an hour. A very long time.
It takes a while. I thought that process would be faster with this SSD, but apparently not so much.
Yeah.
Anyway,